I mean, I was told by my film professor, there are films and there are movies, and sometimes you've got to know what you're walking into.
Yeah. See, but I come from a time when movies were films.
When their evil nemesis resurfaces after 16 years, a band of ex-revolutionaries must reunite to rescue their daughter of one of their own. Some search for battle, others are born into it. Welcome, everyone. My name's Logan. This is the Court of Cinema podcast, talking about everything film and TV. And today, we're talking about Paul Thomas Anderson's One Battle After Another. And this is going to be a very, very anticipated episode, at least for me, because I was very excited to watch this movie. This film did release last week, Friday, which was a date that I actually forgot. It was the 26th, and technically it was the 25th on Thursday, but, you know, I'm being technical. Director for this movie is Paul Thomas Anderson, written by Paul Thomas Anderson, and also produced by Paul Thomas Anderson as well. He really just went 3 for 3 here with this movie, and I just had to quickly say that Paul Thomas Anderson, he's one of my favorite directors of all time, and I'm just going to kind of glaze him a little bit later, but still, really, Paul Thomas Anderson, he's just so cool. He's so good. I really, really love him a lot. Cinematography for this film is done by Michael Bauman. He recently also worked on Licorice Pizza with Paul Thomas Anderson, and he reunited with him again here for this film. And then finally, composing this film is also done here by Jonny Greenwood, who did an incredible job with the movie. I just quickly had to say that and give some praise here because the score is, at least for me, it's some of the best of the entire year. The music for this film, I'll talk about it a little bit later, and I'll once again glaze the score even more because this movie does a lot of things really, really well. But Jonny Greenwood, he worked on Phantom Thread. I love that score for that film as well. Licorice Pizza, also from Paul Thomas Anderson. He worked with him on that one too. There Will Be Blood, and also The Master, a couple of other films with incredible score. Also, Harry Potter, The Goblet of Fire. He worked with that crew there with Harry Potter, and he did a great job there as well. He's definitely a very underrated composer. He's done a lot of great works. Okay, so all of that prologue yap is out of the way. Let me just start diving into this movie. So, number one is my theory for this movie. If you listen to my episode at the beginning of the year, I talked about my top 10 most anticipated for 2025, right? Yeah, okay, yeah. I just had to remember the year we were in. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit dumb. But still, yeah, I gave away my list for this year, 2025, and before we even had a poster, a trailer, or anything, I said that this movie from Paul Thomas Anderson with Leonardo DiCaprio is going to be one of the best of the entire year. And that was before we got anything, before we got a trailer, anything at all. I said it, and I died on that hill. This is going to be one of the top 10 films of the year by far. Then if you go back and listen to my episode that I did back in August, I went through my favorites that was going to be coming out this year that we had left, and I still, once again, I put this movie at number 2, so this movie is going to be one of the greatest of the entire year because it's Paul Thomas Anderson, and he never misses. And this is only for me, and I can't really speak for everyone, and I know that films are subjective, and everyone may not like the same movie, blah, 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 whatever. I understand that, it's okay, but I've seen 8 Paul Thomas Anderson films. 8 of them. There's still a lot more that I have to go through, at least a couple more that I really, really have to go through. But still, I've seen 8 of his films. I guess I won't count Anima, that's a short film. So I've seen 7 of his feature-length films. And for each of those 7 feature-length films, I've given all of them at least a 4.5 out of 5. Every single movie that's a feature-length movie that I've seen from him, I've given at least a 4.5 out of 5 because he can't seem to miss. He's one of the greatest auteurs working today, and he's an incredible director. No one makes a movie like him. He's so unique with his filmmaking and his writing and his producing that makes his movie feel so different and so unique and so special. So when I saw he was going to be on a movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, I knew this is going to be a movie of the year contender, and I was right. I saw this movie yesterday. I got a little matinee screening in IMAX, and really, this movie is one of the best of the entire year. As we go into Oscar season, this is going to be that movie. You know, every single year we have a movie at the Academy Awards that gets nominated for everything. You know, we had Oppenheimer. Everything Everywhere All at Once was one of those kind of movies as well. And also last year we had The Brutalist and Anora, and also, what's that one Netflix film that was really, really bad? I don't know, whatever. But still, every year at the Academy Awards, we always have one movie that gets nominated for everything. And this year, it's going to be One Battle After Another. every single category, from all the acting, supporting actor, supporting actress, actor, best actress as well, also adapted screenplay, director, score, cinematography, costume design. They're going to get every single nomination and might win all of them. I wouldn't be too surprised by it, because this film does something so special. If you're one of those kinds of people that says they don't make films that they used to, they don't make movies that they used to back in the day, we're long away from the golden age of filmmaking, then watch this film. This is one of the movies that, you always complain that we don't get films like this anymore, and yet here it is. Why aren't you going to go see it? The biggest mistake you can make is not going to see this film on the biggest screen possible, because it's truly an incredible spectacle. And I'll just go through right now just my pros in terms of what made this film so good for me. Number one, I saw it in IMAX. I didn't get to see it on VistaVision. This movie was shot on VistaVision. It looks incredible. Cinematography looks scrumptious, and also in IMAX, it looks insane. I always have to say, I'm not sponsored by IMAX. I don't get paid to say that IMAX is the best way to watch a movie, but it's true that if you see a movie in IMAX, that is the best way to see a film. I saw it at my local IMAX theater in IMAX Laser. It wasn't film, unfortunately. It wasn't the original VistaVision print, unfortunately, but still, it was incredible showing. A great presentation. That is one of my favorite IMAX presentations of the entire year so far. It was that incredible. And then moving on forward, I'll just start going into the acting. I'll do the acting here real quick. Everyone in the movie is incredible. We have multiple Oscar contenders here in this movie, and we're going to at least have one winner. I'll mention him here in a second. I'll mention him at the very end, and it's not Leonardo DiCaprio. I'll mention him right now. Leonardo DiCaprio is great. He's really good. It's Leonardo DiCaprio. He's one of the last living movie stars of our time, and he's incredible, legendary actor. We all know this, and he was really good here as well. He might get a nomination, he may not win, but at least a nomination I can see happening. The actor that is the best actor in the film, who steals the show, was Sean Penn. And Sean Penn, I didn't think he was going to be bad in the movie. And I'm not exactly like a Sean Penn hater. He won one actor. I don't remember he won one Oscar. I'm not sure what film it was for. But still, he's a great actor. I didn't go into this movie saying Sean Penn's going to be awful. But I didn't go into the movie thinking Sean Penn was going to be this incredible. This is literally one of the best performances of the entire history of film. I'm going to say that's such a bold take, but still, Sean Penn gave one of the greatest generational performances of the entire lifetime of film. That's how good he was in this movie. One that I can actually compare it to is like the T-1000 in Terminator 2. If you gave him dialogue and kind of a weird walk, that's how he was in the movie. He was so robotic, and he was just everything. He was the clear standout for me in this movie, and he made everyone else look bad in terms of acting. That's saying a lot if you're being next to Leo in a movie and you think that he is bad compared to him in the movie. It's crazy. Sean Penn did a absolutely masterful job here with this film, and I really did adore him from scene to scene. He steals the show, and he owns this movie, and it was not on my bingo card for the year. And we still have a lot of year left, but right now, he's the person to beat for the Oscar. Best Oscar in a supporting role Oscar, it's going to be him. That is locked and loaded for the Academy Awards. That has to be at least a nomination, because he is just so incredible. It's going to be taught in acting classes just by how good he was in this movie. And it's just, incredible job here. He was great. So Leo's great. Sean Penn is generational in the movie. Also, a newcomer here is Chase Infinity. This is her breakout role, we'll call it. She was in a Apple TV show as well, but still, this is going to be her breakout performance. She was really good as well in this film. Chase Infinity, she's definitely going to be on her way to have a great cinematic run as an actress. She was really good in the movie, and also was a pleasant surprise for being her first major role, and she did a great job here. Next one up is also Benicio del Toro. He is good in everything, so I'm not too surprised here, but he was awesome as well. Regina Hall was also really good here. Tiana Taylor is who I would say is definitely another Oscar lock for sure, and she's an actress that I've been showing my support for. There was a movie she was in 2023, 1001. She was in that movie. It was earlier in the year. She didn't get a nomination for it, but when that movie came out, at that time, it came out in like March or April, very early on in the year. I said that this is my lock for the Academy Award. Once again, that was before Oppenheimer and Barbie and all those other great movies that came out in 2023. But still, this was a film that definitely got forgotten, but Tiana Taylor in that movie was incredible. I knew at that point she's a incredible actress. And in this movie, I'm not going to spoil it for how much of the movie she's in, but still, for the time she's in the movie, she acts incredible. I mean, she's also, I think maybe it's Sean Penn at 1 and then Tiana Taylor at 2 for just the best in the entire movie. It's them two for definite locks for the Academy Awards. If she wins, I won't be surprised. It's going to be at least a nomination for her. She's awesome. She's just absolutely incredible force for the film. And I'm just so happy to see her finally get the recognition because she's an incredible actress. And there's plenty of other just incredible names here in this cast, but really, I think that everyone does a good job. I mean, also we have Wood Harris in this movie. Wood Harris isn't in a lot of movies, but still, he's one of my also favorites working today because he really can never seem to turn in a bad performance either. Wood Harris is awesome in this movie as well. And there's a bunch of just other incredible actors. And in this movie, it feels like the actors aren't acting, which may sound bad, but still, the actors feel like real people. You know, it doesn't really feel like they're Leonardo DiCaprio and Chase Infinity giving dialogue. It feels like an actual father and daughter giving dialogue, and that's maybe a testament to Paul Thomas Anderson as an incredible filmmaker and an incredible writer as well. But still, the acting all across the board, everyone, from someone who had maybe 2 lines of dialogue to Sean Penn, they're all just so good, which definitely, I think, is just showing just how good this film's writing is and directing as well, because everyone was on point all across the board. All right, so acting out of the way, everyone in the movie is good. We know that already. Let me go to just real quick, and this is going to be, I guess, the last big pro I give, is going to be the writing and the story for this movie. That's just really top notch. And if you don't know what this movie exactly is, a quick little rundown summary. Leonardo DiCaprio and Tiana Taylor, they were revolutionists, and then they had to, move on down the line. They had to break the band up revolutionists, and then 16 years later in the future, Sean Penn is the villain, and he comes to capture Leonardo DiCaprio and also Chase Infinity, those two characters. He's chasing them at the latter half of the movie, and that's essentially it. If you watch the trailer, that's what the movie is, and if you see the trailer and see the marketing, and if you read off on the summary for the movie on IMDb, that's what the movie says, and that's what I went into the film knowing, and I wasn't exactly surprised by that, but I was really just also surprised by just how relevant this movie is. It's definitely a take on modern day America and revolutionists and also immigration, illegal immigration in America. And it's definitely a very relevant conversation for also political violence. We've had a lot of that happen this year alone. This movie, it's really just capturing everything from this decade of 2020s is in this movie, and it's definitely can be very jarring and very controversial as well. This movie definitely isn't going to be for everyone. This is how it is. And that's definitely the thing with all movies, I feel. Like Oppenheimer for me is one of the best of the entire century. But for another person, they may think it's boring and too long, which I understand. That's fine. But I really do think that with this movie, with Paul Thomas Anderson taking a message, taking a situation that's happening today, like earlier this summer, we were talking about ICE raids and illegal immigration, mass deportation, all those things were happening like a few months ago. It's not like it's a thing that's very niche and something that happened a few hundred years ago in history. This happened very recently. Political violence and riots and different kind of protests happening. That's happening every weekend. There's a lot of violence and different things happening on in America that makes this movie feel so relevant. And also, what it's doing isn't even, I think, like taking side or saying that the government is wrong and freedom fighters and revolutionists are rights here. It's not saying that. That's why I really do praise Paul Thomas Anderson for doing this film and being so brilliant with it in that sense as well. I definitely think that as we go into the future, maybe 10, 15 years in the future, this movie is going to be a classic. There's definitely there's a very, I think, short list of movies that I say they're already a classic. I think this movie is definitely already a classic in my book, along with a bunch of other incredible movies. For this one, This one is definitely going to be a classic. It's going to be taught not only in film school and acting classes, but for history of modern day America. This film's going to be definitely one of those movies that's going to be taught in your future children and growing children's history classes, or, American history classes. It's definitely going to be one of those films that's going to be talked about and discussed. The same way we have, what is that one Spike Lee movie, Do the Right Thing? That also is that kind of movie that definitely feels very relevant with violence within the black community. That's one of those films that definitely feels very relevant and is still going to be taught and mentioned and discussed today, not only in film classes, but definitely also in history classes as well. So for that, it's, once again, like I said, it's going to be very controversial. It's definitely going to be very, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm kind of dumb. I'm going to keep this in as well. It's going to be kind of diverse in terms of who loves likes the movie. That's what it's going to be. That's not the right word, but, whatever. I'll throw it in. So it's going to be that kind of movie. It's going to be very controversial, very divisive. That's the word. Oh, there we go. And I think that's really good for movies nowadays. It's not going to be something that everyone's going to love, which is okay. I really do appreciate that. Paul Thomas Anderson is brilliant. Also, for the, second half of praising the writing for this movie is definitely the pacing. This movie is almost 3 hours long. It feels like it's 30 minutes. Like, that's how it is. And Paul Thomas Anderson, the way he orchestrates and builds up a screenplay makes this movie just shine so much more. There's really like a 30-minute sequence within the mid-ish point of the movie that is just so well paced. It's so incredible. From the score as well. Going back to the score with this movie, the music in a Paul Thomas Anderson film is so important. Within every PTA film. That's why I always say that it's really good to study a director. If you're trying to get into movies, if you're trying to start watching more films, study directors. Don't just go out and study actors, because an actor can work with Christopher Nolan and then PTA, and then he can work with Wes Anderson another day, So if you study directors, if you study through Paul Thomas Anderson's filmography, you'll notice that music in his movies are like another character in his movies. And they also are very important in terms of just constructing and also helping with the story and the way scenes are carried out. The score is, I feel like, another character at points in his films, and that's what's here in this movie as well. In music and films, we all know it can definitely build tension and this, that, and the third, but with PTA, music in his movies feel different. They have this different presence and essence to them that really makes his movies feel so different than anything else in the entire industry. And maybe one last pro is the comedy. This movie is maybe his funniest film that I've seen so far. I haven't seen all of them. I have a few more left. But still, I think that out of all his films, this one might be the funniest. Like, a weird thing to compare it to, when I was watching the movie, I was like, this feels like it's Saturday Night Live and also South Park, which it sounds so weird. You're like, Logan, you're saying to me that there's a movie about illegal immigration that's very serious and very sad. You might cry, but it feels like Saturday Night Live and South Park. Yes. It's just like the thing about when a character is absolutely serious about a conversation that feels like it's satire and a joke and a bit is just what makes it 10 times funnier, because the characters are saying things that are so ridiculous, but their faces are just like straight face, absolutely serious the entire time. It feels like it's a South Park or Saturday Night Live sketch by just how the scenes are constructed and the dialogue and the actors as well doing an incredible job at trying not to laugh at these very unseriously serious situations that makes it that much better to me. It's just also balanced so well. It doesn't feel like it's just like taking itself too seriously, but the comedy in there, it's just so good and it's so well placed. My theater got a lot of laughs by just very serious conversations, but in a good way. There's a lot of really bad movies out there that are serious movies, but they're so bad that it's just kind of funny by how bad it is. That's not the kind of funny this film is. I can definitely, in my head, I was watching the movie and I was like, okay, I know that Paul Thomas Anderson wrote this point of the movie. He wrote the dialogue and all these pauses and all these cuts with the camera because he knew that this was going to be a funny moment, and the conversation is just this outlandish and crazy that the people are going to laugh in the theater, And that's just, once again, the mind of just an incredible generational writer and director that makes him just on my Mount Rushmore just so much more solidified for him. He is just so incredible, and I really, truly love this movie. If you couldn't already tell by me just rambling and praising the movie, the biggest disservice you can do is not seeing this film on the biggest screen possible in a theater. Please, please go see this movie on a theater as soon as possible. It's the most important thing you can do right now. My final score for this film is going to be an A. And you may be saying, okay, Logan, it's an A. Is it the best of the entire year? Is it the best of the entire decade? One thing to explain. One, it's one of my favorites of the entire year and of the entire decade. Right now, I do have Sinners at number 1, but it's like 1A and 1B. Like, these two films are so interchangeable. They're both so good. I really do love both of them. And a very quick also, I just want to give praise to Warner Brothers for taking a chance on these two films with one bout after another, and also Sinners, taking a chance on these directors, on these stories, on trusting them with these such masterful and just huge formats of 70mm, and trusting them to do what they do best and make incredible films, trusting them with their entire heart and giving them these massive budgets. Thank you, Warner Brothers. I mean, really, Warner Brothers, as much as we love to hate on them and clown on them, they've been doing a great job this year for 2025, and somehow they're broke. I really don't know how. That makes no sense at all. Must be a money laundering scheme, but whatever. We'll talk about that another day. As we get closer into Oscar season, I'll definitely be talking about this movie more, and also about Sinners and a bunch of other films a lot more, just as we recap 2025. But right now, this one is definitely going to be like an Oscar favorite for a lot of people, and for me, yeah, it's going to get nominated for a lot of things, so don't be surprised, and it's going to happen in like January-ish when everything gets announced. Sorry again, just for missing out on Twilight. I know I said it was going to be coming out today, but it's going to happen next week maybe. I just had to talk about this first because it's just a massive emergency of an episode that it had to be talked about before anything else. That's just, it takes precedence for sure. But before we go, just number 1, thank you so much for listening to this episode. It's been a very nice pleasure for me. Go see this movie in the biggest screen possible. That's also very, very important. Number 3, films to look out for is definitely going to be Smashing Machine. The Rock might potentially be winning an Oscar. I've been hearing a lot of buzz about that just from different kind of festivals and things, but still, you're going to be the judge of that, and also the Academy Award conference room is going to be the discuss of that as well. So this year so far has been great for films. It's definitely not the best, but still, it's been really solid for performances as well. I just want to give some shout out and love again to Josh Brolin in Weapons. Was also, it's definitely not my favorite anymore, but it at one point was my favorite performance of the entire year. Josh Brolin in Weapons was awesome, but still, Sean Penn, The Rock might win an Oscar. It's a crazy time to be alive right now. So you're going to listen to this episode and this entire series and podcast to really stay in the loop of everything, because it's really going to get crazy as we go into the Academy Awards season. It's going to be kind of nuts. But until next time, stay swagged out, stay cool, watch more films, and until next time when we hopefully talk about Twilight, I'll see you boys in the movies.